welcome back to Talking Blondes. My name is Caitlin, and I am coming to you from the great state of Ohio, the Buckeye State, if you will. And I am joined by my lovely, wonderful co host, Virginia.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I am the other co-host of Talking Blondes podcast. My name is Virginia, and I am coming to you from North Idaho in the Pacific Northwest.
And for anybody listening, last episode, we did cover the whole OHIO thing for Ohio. Does Idaho have anything, Virginia? I just thought about this. Is that
That's a great question, and it's funny how when I'll go to the East Coast that people I talk to, they feel like it's potatoes. That's what we're known for. So you know what? Even though I live in North Idaho and we have beautiful mountains, it's very different terrain than from southern Idaho. That's the more flatter land and but not really. We can't really be flat out here. But compared to North Idaho, yes, the elevation is a lot lower. And I'm probably getting like way too technical about this instead of just accepting the fact that we are just known for potatoes, and that's what we'll forever be known for despite these different parts of Idaho. But yes,
Listen,
we
I
are
love potatoes. I'm not mad
potato
about
land.
that at all. So I just didn't know if there was like a cool
There
ID.
probably is, but I'm not you grew up in Ohio, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes. So even
yeah.
though you were born in Florida, you lived your whole life in Ohio
Fair for the most part, yeah.
for
So
the most
that's
part.
fair. That's fair.
So I am not a native Idahoan. I am a native Floridian, born
Fair.
and raised. So I'm sure there's a lot of that. I am just not aware of it because it was not part of my upbringing. I do know living out here that the Seattle Seahawks are a big football team for this area. Idaho doesn't have any of their own. We really rely on Washington to keep us probably relevant. and, but yeah, I'm sorry, you were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna say, anybody listening, if you are from Idaho, let us know if there's some catchphrase
Yeah,
or something. I mean, obviously
actually, yes.
potatoes, like you can't go wrong with that. But I was just curious, but I digress. We'll put a pin in that for right now. If we get anybody writing into us, we'll for sure come back to it in another episode. But thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you along with us for this journey. And this is our last episode of 2025.
What?
Virginia, can you believe it? It's insane.
Wow.
I know I myself cannot believe it. This year has flown by. So we are going to have a slightly different take on today's episode. And in previous episodes, you may have noticed that we typically select one topic and we, really dive deep into that topic, whether it's vulnerability, whether it's friendships in adulthood, whether it's holiday burnout, whatever it may be. This is going to be a little bit different and it's going to be fun. Well, we think it's going to be fun. We're going to make it fun, we promise. So before I get into what that's going to be, I have two quotes for us. One is a little bit shorter than the other. I'll go with the longer one first because I think it's just very well, they're both poetic, but I just think it's very beautifully written. So this quote, it's a passage by author Lang Leave, and the quote is, well, first off, it's titled "This Was the Year," and it goes like this: "This was the year I didn't see coming, the one that shook me out of complacency, when I learned to stop being compliant, to demand what was rightfully mine, refused to settle for anything less than what I deserved. I lost patience with small talk, fell in love with midnight conversations. I crossed deserts and oceans with the man I love at my side. as we lived out of suitcases, drunk on life and laughter. This was the year that came with a gentle tap on the shoulder, reminding me who I was and what I could be. If only I just opened my arms and let the light in, stop overthinking and start living. Give myself permission to fall as long as I got back up again. I held the ones I love closer, let go of the things that weren't meant to be mine, looked my past dead in the eye and said, "You aren't welcome here anymore." Chased away the cobwebs that I had let linger far too long, told the moon I was sorry. This is now my time in the sun.
Wow. That is beautiful.
That resonated with me big time. First off, I love the figurative language. But I just think there's something relatable, hopefully for everyone, at least in some small part of that, if not all of that. So I thought that was a very beautiful quote talking about just a reflection on the year itself. And then I have one last quote, a bit shorter, but also wonderful. And it's by Morgan Harper Nichols. She's very big on Instagram, social media. She is a musician, an author, and she is just so amazingly gifted. Highly recommend following her, any of you, if you're not already, on Instagram. But this quote is, "One day you will look back and see that all along you were blooming." So much shorter, but also much still along the lines of just how time passes and how we continue to evolve. So without further ado, in light of how those quotes are along the same topic, that brings me to the topic for today's episode, which is 5 lessons 2025 taught us. So Virginia and I both, we wanted to do kind of some soul searching on this and think about some things that happened throughout the year. And, we're each going to share 5 different lessons between the two of us. So technically 10, but 5 lessons for each of us. And just kind of cover, what led us to these realizations. And, hopefully there's at least 1 or 2 in here, hopefully even more, that anyone listening or watching can relate to. And if not, maybe there's some sort of, wisdom or something in your life that, you can relate to it in some way, or maybe there will be even an aha moment or something. Who knows? But we are just so excited. It's been a wonderful, crazy, busy, fun, wild year, and we are just so excited to go over these meaningful things that 2025 brought our way.
Yeah.
So I will take a break from yapping over here, and I will pass it over to this other talking blonde, Virginia. I would love to know, what has 2025 taught you? Maybe we can go back and forth and each share a lesson, if that works for you.
Yes. No, that's great. I can't wait to get into this. And Caitlin actually came up with the idea for this podcast episode, and I just thought it was perfect to be able to really reflect on this year, because it's so easy to get caught up in the motions of it all, and maybe even get on autopilot, just to survive what could have been a very difficult and challenging year for some of us. So what Caitlin and I think are hoping to do with this this exercise to reflect on our year is that I feel like doing this gives us a chance to really process what we need to feel.
Definitely.
And take that pause out of your everyday life and really reflect on this year. And so that would be intentionally carving out some space and time to do so instead of just going right into another year and maybe repeating the same old patterns and habits. So if this is also something that this kind of practice that for those who are listening feel like yes, like you find it impactful and effective too, let us know. We would love to hear that. I feel like for the past few years, what I've been doing, I didn't frame it in this way that we framed for our podcast episode, like the top 5 lessons from the year 2025. I feel like I did kind of like the highlights and the lowlights of a year, of a calendar year. And so for the past few years, I will go through, and Mel Robbins actually talked about this in one of her podcasts, I think, getting ready for like the new year, or maybe this was just around a new year starting, somewhere around that time frame of going through your camera roll in your phone. Because we'll forget things that happened at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, even just a week ago. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. What's this picture of? And so it's a great practice because it does put me right back to that, to that event. And let's just say like it was a happy memory that a camera roll came up, and then before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that was so great to be on that trip, or to get together with those kind of friends, and this fun thing happened at work. And then there are some things that come up where you're like, oh, I lost so and so. I had to put my dog down. I just things like that. I went through a job loss, a breakup. So the camera roll thing, it's like it's going to bring up all of that, right? And it's interesting how we're so adamant in the moment about capturing this, and then we'll just completely forget it because
so
time has moved on.
Mm-hmm.
So this practice that I've been doing these past few years helps me to be reflective on the year and to write out all the things. And so a lesson actually came up for me in 2024 that has played a role in 2025. And that lesson I will start with, and that is we are not meant to be in one constant state. There are ebbs and flows. And 2024, I ended with that lesson so I could go into 2025 and to endure all the ebbs and flows that came with the year 2025 and just not making anything permanent. Just knowing it was all temporary and fleeting. And even though some of it was painful and some of it was uncomfortable, and there are times where I really felt like, oh my gosh, is there a light at the end of the tunnel with this? And if that is a light, is it a train or is it an actual light? Like
Virginia.
And
is it an ambulance or is it we're actually getting out of this thing?
And some of you listening will be like, totally get that. Get that. And so there was these couple of months, and it always happens around the fall too. Fall is such a pattern for me to go through the most changes. It's like there's something so spiritual about the fall season for me, and growing through these changes. But for like a couple of months, I really, really felt like, you know what? Maybe I'm not meant to be a life coach. maybe
But you are.
I shouldn't have this podcast. And, I'm not going to say that in any way was it unnecessary to go through that. I actually think it was very necessary. I think it's very necessary to question, like, do I really want to do this? Is this something that I want to do? Do I enjoy doing it? Um,
Yeah.
Something's not really working out the way I thought it would. So what's going on here? My point is with that is like just because we're going through the sucky part of it doesn't mean that it doesn't serve a purpose. It does, because what came out of it was it solidified that this is what I'm truly passionate about. I am so passionate about helping other women and having a platform with my dear friend to be able to talk on these things. So what if I had to go through this lull, this ebb and flow of like, oh, I don't really know if this is meant for me. I'm going to just encourage you to still go through it, because if what comes out of it is like, you know what, this may not really be my calling or my path. I was thinking like, since the beginning of this year, because I technically launched two businesses in 2025, the coaching and the podcast, is I was really thinking like the podcast was going to like kind of just be more of a supplementation. And at the coaching, I was like, yes, like it's going to be one-on-one coaching and I'm going to, get clients. It was not working out that way. And so I had to go through this darker period of like really being like, okay, Virginia, this is what you want. This is what you really want to do. Okay, what are you open to? Are you open to like maybe making more of the podcast like your main platform, to be able to build trust and rapport with people and then eventually see if clients coming out of that. So it's just so interesting to go through that. And whereas before, like leading up to that time, I was so like aligned with the coaching and the podcast. Like I was laser focused. I was like bam, 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 doing all the things. And then it came to a screaming halt. And I'm like, why? What? Why? Like I've got this momentum and, I'm doing all the things. It's not like I'm being passive or, just being like, well, if it's meant to be, it will be. It'll just fall into my lap. I was like, I was hustling all summer. And then fall rolls around and then I come to this screaming halt. And I was like, well, this was unexpected. And I was like, why am I going through this? Like, I'm so certain. I am so certain this is my life path and my calling. So on that side life lesson of 2025, something I kind of already knew, but it really, really was apparent to me that even with the right life path and your true calling, it doesn't mean it's not going to come with its bumps in the road. It doesn't mean it won't come with its challenges. And it doesn't mean that's not still meant for you. So I really felt like I had to go through those dark couple months with the life coaching and the podcast, almost like a shedding some identity stuff too, with how I really, really want to show up as a life coach, and what are my intentions, with this podcast. And I just think it's so, important, to even go through those dark times, even though I can confidently say I am on the right path. So,
Wow. I absolutely think that those moments in life happen for a reason. It's
mhm.
like the universe is, you know, I don't know, possibly, I don't want to say testing you, but possibly just trying to see how bad you want it,
Yeah,
like, and I do very much believe that nothing worth having just comes super easily.
yes.
And so I think that I love your reframing also of it, where like, I know I do
The
though,
reframe.
like, I'm glad it happened
I am.
because, it forced me to really do some deep diving and think about it. And like, yeah,
Yes.
I really want that, or I really
Yes.
want this, what
Yeah.
you're referring to. So it's wonderful that you didn't let that moment or season of life make you quit or stop. That's such a beautiful thing. And I do very much believe that embrace the magic of the temporary. That's a phrase that I don't know where it came from. I think I just wrote it down in my journal one time when I was really sad and I was realizing how nothing in life is ever permanent. And when Virginia and I were doing life coaching a
Hmm.
while back, I don't know if that was, I know that came up, and I forget if it was like a slogan I was going to use for an exercise or what exactly, but yeah, embrace the magic of the temporary. Everything is an ebb and flow. Nothing good lasts maybe forever. No one thing can ever last forever, but look at it this way, nothing bad can ever last forever either. And so
Right.
it makes you really hold on to those beautiful things and dive into that.
And Caitlin, just to be transparent here, I actually did take a step back from coaching during those couple months. So I want to touch on something real quick. With like anything in life, if you have to show up for someone else because that's part of your job, it doesn't mean like with whatever's going on in life that you still can't do your job um and show up for people. Like if I had clients, I still had to show up for them, right? To the best of my ability. However, sometimes when we go through those darker periods and we really don't have any like activity in our business and we're not seeing people, I do believe it's because the universe is protecting you and your energy during that time. Like you don't need to be helping people right now. You need to be helping yourself.
Mm.
So I felt like I was really forcing things to happen just so I could feel validated. Um,
Okay.
and it wasn't happening. And I was getting frustrated. I was like, I don't like, how am I supposed to be a life coach if I can't help anybody? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on here? And and then as I'm going through that, I'm realizing like, well, Virginia, like, could you even help people right now? Like, you will do your best, but like,
Sure.
you're already like not in the right frame of mind, and you want people to invest in you and in this coaching. And
Hmm.
so it's again, it's not about like, oh, everything in your life has to be perfect in order to do your job. No, that's not it at all. But if you're wondering why things are not quite panning out the way that you were expecting them to, it's probably because the universe is protecting you. Um, and so that's how I felt during those couple months. And then I came out of it, and it actually helped me to kind of pivot a little bit and to be able to bring in clients. Um,
Okay.
so it's just interesting going through that. And I was like, really kind of down in the dumps. Like, this is just
Oh.
not going the way I was hoping it would go. Like, and I'm not really sure if I'm cut out for this. And then, like, I just feel like anytime I try to like get a client, it never works out. And I
Mhm.
just was like, I don't know what else to do because that's a big part of doing what I do is being able to
Sure.
coach and help others. And then after, yeah, going through that and then coming out of it, I was like, oh, thank God I didn't have anybody. That would have been such a clusterfuck, if I did. And pardon my French, but like, it wasn't just the coaching that was going on. It was so many other personal things going on in my life. But I was like, I am so blessed that I was protected during this
Yeah.
time. That's
Yeah.
my reframe. That is how I
Oh, for
choose
sure.
to be that.
But
But
I mean on a bigger scale, you didn't just throw in the towel and quit it all. You maybe took some time away for
yes,
you, but
yep,
what do we always say? You have to make sure you take care of yourself before you
yep,
can take care of others. So you did
absolutely.
all the right things, and what a beautiful, certainly challenging,
Hmm.
but also rewarding, journey.
Very much
So
so.
I'm so proud of you, girl.
Thank you. Okay, let's hear the one you want to kick off with, Miss Caitlin.
Okay, well, I was struggling to see like what order to put mine in, and I really could not rank them because they were all very important to me. I'm just
Oh.
like, I don't know. But so the first one I want to kick off with, and this is somewhat also related to kind of what you were talking about to an extent, Virginia, and it is you're never going to be quote unquote ready, so just get started.
Yeah.
Um, and the first thing that really comes to my mind that taught me this lesson was our podcast. And I know we kind of have talked a little bit about this in the past. I think in our episode on, perfectionism, we talked about, wanting to just get everything right every single time. And in some ways, I do think that having that mindset can help you be successful,
Mhm.
as we've talked about. But if we waited until we were ready, I think it's a Lemony Snicket quote. If you wait until you're ready, you're going to be waiting for your whole life. Like
Yeah.
you're never going to start.
Hmm.
So, and honestly, like it doesn't just apply to the podcast for me. I mean, it applies to so many other things. I mean, I'm a very creative person, and so I love writing, poetry, and fiction in my spare time. And so, it's like for so many years, I've just been like, oh, the right idea will come to me, or oh, like now's not the right time for me to start brainstorming or just writing down whatever comes to mind or plotting things out. And it's like, no, like, guess what? You're going to wake up one day on your, God forbid, deathbed and realize you never. I mean, that is one of my big dreams is to write something and have it published. And so, I have been finding time and making time, I guess is the better
Hmm.
phrase, to just go ahead and write things down. And granted, I don't do as much as I want to, but that's because, of course, the real world calls and I have a job and bills and all these other things and a home or an apartment to clean and all these random obligations, obviously, which is fine. That's life. But absolutely, if you just wait or if you just keep putting something off, you'll never get started. Like you're just there's never going to be a time when everything is absolutely perfect. It just does not
Hmm.
exist. And kind of like going off of that is just a little side note I had for this, and that was the more that you try to plan, the more the universe kind of looks at you and goes, that's real cute.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer, like absolutely, Virginia. Like the more and kind of going off of that, like getting ready, like so many things I think you and Virginia, you and I either tried to like make sure we had just right, or even just in my personal life, just different things I had planned this year. Um, a vacation, random things with friends that just didn't pan out. Like it's just things that the universe is like, haha, okay, well, actually, here's what's really going to happen, So, and you can look at that in a negative way, but I choose to look at it in a positive, and that's just that my story is meant to unfold in this way, and I don't mean the one I'm writing. I mean the one that I'm living out. But hey, maybe I'll incorporate that into my fiction story
Hmm.
too. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that, we very much get in our heads about getting all of our ducks in a row.
Hmm.
Yeah. God, when I was, I don't know, 19, I said to myself, I'm going to be married by the time I'm 25. I'm going to have kids by the time I'm 29 or 30, like all these different things. And it's like, where did we get these ideas from?
Yeah.
And I'm not just, it's not just when it comes to family planning. There's all these other things, of course, that pop up as women in our brains, whether it's our career or, just a number of things. But we need to kind of let those things go. It's so hard. It really is. But just know that you just have to try somewhere,
Yeah.
with what you really care about with your dreams.
hmm So on that, Caitlin, for like our listeners who might get caught up in the what is it, analysis paralysis
Yes. Yes.
and the perfectionism, I can't even say the word, perfectionism, would you say that it's better just to start even when you don't have all your ducks in a row and you don't have everything figured out than just staying stuck? Um,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
unless you can if you can really rationalize it, like, I'm waiting only until I meet with that person or until I research this and I find that
Mhm.
out or whatever. Unless you can find, in my opinion, unless you can find like a hard deadline of like a time, a place, a this, a that, just go. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Do
Because
what you
that
can.
that creates momentum,
Yes.
which you will not get from staying stagnant. And if you are a spiritual person, then that helps to open more doors for you
Hmm.
than just staying stuck and complacent. Do you feel the same way? Like you'll start something, but it might actually lead to something else, all because you created momentum for yourself.
Oh,
And then the
absolutely.
universe is kind of like, oh, well, let me open that door for you because I wouldn't have opened that door if you would have just stayed in that, that same spot. Do you kind of feel the same way about that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. It's what you're putting out,
hmm
that, hopefully, ideally, I do believe you get back in one form or another. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, that's my first
That's
lesson. So
first.
I'll kick it right back in your corner. What's number two for you?
On to number two. I did write down that there are seasons for everything,
Hmm.
even the things that we would rather not go through. Um, but that goes back to my first lesson that we're not meant to stay in this one constant state. So we really do have to learn how to be resilient. We use this word quite a bit on the Talking Blondes podcast, reframing, being adaptable and flexible. These are not things we just throw out there for the sake of, putting it out there. It's like this is what helps us get through those very difficult and challenging times. Um, and, I can also, though, at the same time, be reflect on the seasons where they were full of like abundance and one good thing after another, and you think during that time that you were so present for all of it, and then when it's no longer the case anymore, you're going through hardship, you're going through loss, you're going through setbacks. um, I I just, I don't know, it kind of hit me this year because we definitely went through, my husband and I, not going too much into detail, we did go through something that has a direct impact on our livelihood. And there's not a whole lot we can do about it. Some of it's just a timing game, and if things are going to work out, we can, still show up and do what we can. But a lot of it is just trusting, trusting something you can't see, trusting something that you can't put a date on the calendar. It's something concrete, something tangible. You have to dig deep, deep and pull out these things to be able to get you through a very trying time that doesn't come as easily during a time of just, awesomeness, which I hope we all get to experience because that's a big part of life. You get to have magical seasons. And, it's not as, it doesn't require a whole lot out of you to go through those, really wonderful times. But when you're going through the really trying times, I feel like you really have to dig way deeper to be able to pull out the magic that is still there. So when Caitlin and I did the episode on gratitude, that really actually helped me a lot with some of the things that I was going through this year, some of the very challenging things. I also kind of had to, I actually got to work on this with another life coach at the beginning of this year, but I had this, and maybe some of you might be able to relate to this. When you're like going through life and things are just great, they're just great. And then they're not. And you kind of feel maybe you're being punished. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to have that much fun and enjoying my life. I take it back. Like, and it was so interesting that was one of my fears that we were working on in this life coaching experiment. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, being punished? By who? This higher power is punishing me because I got caught up in too many good times. So now to balance everything out, I need to go through the bad. I was like, well, that's fucked up in a nutshell. I was like, imagine saying that to a loved one. I'm like, oh, well, you kind of deserve this because you had such a great time and now you wouldn't say that.
Things were going too well for you. So.
Things were going too well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's so interesting that I thought I was being punished. And that it was almost like, that's cute, Virginia, that you think your life would just, be this one constant state of just good old easy times. And I was like, oh, right, okay. All right, there's a lesson in this. And so working through that, which was really, really great, and realizing I was not being punished, I'm just going through the ebbs and flows of life. I'm going through a season.
Yes.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And so we freak out, like, I must have done something wrong to end up here. And it's like, or it could just be the season you're in, and you're going to be in a different season when that one is, we can't put a date on these things. I can't say next Tuesday by 3:00, this chapter is going to end and I will start anew. That's not how that works. There's a part of me that wishes it did. That would be fan-freaking-tastic.
I really wish.
But that is not how it is. So going back to the whole, like, this is where we have to dig really, really deep. And Caitlin, what you and I talked about gratitude being that light, and that beacon of hope during such a dark time, because it does bring you back to this grounded, centered place. And so even though, yes, we've been through quite a bit this year, where there's a lot of uncertainty and being in the unknown, I still have to trust that I'm the kind of person I am today to be able to go through something like that and come out on the other side. I am not the person I was a year ago, 5 years ago. And so I just have this, like, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what it's based on. I don't feel like it's rose-colored glasses. I don't feel like I'm being naive. I feel deep, deep down, I'm going through this for a reason, and that it serves a purpose, and I choose to believe that, and I don't choose to believe in anything other than that. And that is what's helping me get through this very trying time. And it has definitely come with a lot of stress and expressing concerns of like, okay, well, I might be singing a different tune, a few months from now if we're still in this same circumstances. But I don't know, something, and this is what I love about going back to gratitude, because it can actually bring a deeper meaning to life on a spiritual level. And so I kind of was like, oh, I feel this real sense of spirituality in me as I'm going through this very trying season. Like, just something is telling me, whether it's a message from a higher power, whatever it is, that I'm like, not only am I going to get through this, but it is going to be the key to unlock the kind of life that I want to have with my husband. And I just choose to believe in that.
That is so beautiful. Honestly, girl, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being so vulnerable. I know that we all, like you said, we all have these seasons in our lives. I wish, very much like you, that we could just literally see a countdown on our phones of like, okay, how many minutes now or days until things feel like they're starting to pick up again. And on the other hand, and I really don't wish this, but I do think that one of the blessings that comes with us not seeing that and not knowing when it's going to come is that when it hits us and it's amazing. And it also helps us appreciate it so much more when the good stuff does come our way. And I do think that we also gain, to your point, what you were saying, you're not the same girl you were several years ago or in different periods of your life. You are so strong and able and just, you have so much more wisdom at this age and period of your life. So I do think that there's so much of that you are applying to this, and I'm so proud of you, and thank you for sharing that. And what a beautiful way to use what you're going through as a lesson and something that's making you stronger. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love you.
And I got you. I'm here for you. So.
I know. I'm so blessed. All right, my dear, what's your second lesson from 2025?
Number 2 for me is a little bit related to what I talked about in not being ready, and how you had said to me, you had asked me the question of, do you feel like if you do just dive into something, do you feel that you, get more out of that? And the universe is, kind of almost rewarding you, or, you're sending out a message, not even realizing it, that, you're doing this, and hopefully good things will come your way. And so number 2 for me is mindset is everything. And I did say this in our past episode, what we think we become. And for me, very much, this applies to just my daily life. I, often get very stressed at work. And, I find that it can very much go one of two ways. If I wake up and I think to myself, here we go again, another really long, really busy, really difficult day, that's exactly the kind of day I'm going to have. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The mindset that I have very much predicts what's going to be. On the other hand, if I wake up and I maybe read my Bible, or I write down some things I'm grateful for, and I, reach out to a friend or two, and just someone that I haven't talked to in a while, and just, little things that are positive. And if I think to myself, all right, I am grateful to be alive. And this day that I have right now, I'm never going to get this day again. And granted, I'm not going to feel like saying that or doing that every single day, 100%. But the days and the moments that I have applied that mindset, it's a world of difference. And so I do think there is absolutely something to be said about your thoughts very much dictating your reality.
Mm-hmm.
So, and honestly, I mean, I've applied that even in personal situations where my anxiety gets bad and I'm like, okay, I can run with this worry that I have no idea if it's even going to come to fruition, but I can run with that and hold on to
Mm-hmm.
that and let it eat me up inside, or I can go the other route and just be present in the moment and let myself feel what I'm feeling, but also know that this is not permanent
Yeah.
and I can still just ride it out and not project this very negative mindset, attitude. I'm not sure what their phrase is, but negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
If I go the other route, it's 10 out of 10 times always better.
Yeah.
Always better. So that is number two for me.
That's a good one. Mindset is everything.
Yeah.
Um, I know we've talked about, because you and I are very similar in this way, that we have to train our minds
Yes.
for the positive thinking and the positive attitude. Um, so, would you say, Caitlin, that since that is a conscious effort on our part, to be able to not necessarily like we talked about when it came to toxic positivity or even toxic, gratitude, because there are some circumstances that are just like not ideal.
Sure, sure. It's not all
However,
black and white, you know.
yes, what you're saying is that though you can either dwell on,
Hmm.
the fact that this circumstance is not ideal, and basically what you're saying is, even though there might be some truth to that, 'cause there might be some truth to a job that's more soul sucking than uplifting, or a toxic relationship, so that rather than dwelling on that, you're saying that you feel like you're able to kind of feel like you have maybe a way of handling this or finding a solution with more of a positive mindset.
Hmm.
So, is there an example you can give um, with
Um,
on that?
the thing that comes to my mind is work,
Yes.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I, my role is project management, and so, you never quite feel like you're ever done, because
Mm-hmm.
there's always another 100 projects that are waiting for you, when you log off at the end of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, it can lead to some feelings of stress and anxiety and, you know, letting people down, like, oh, but if I should work until 10 o'clock, and and it's like, no, you cannot do that every night. And so
Yeah.
anyways, I think that's really what comes to my mind, because work is very much a very present part of my life at this
Mm-hmm.
season of my life. And so for me, you know, I have found, just when I catch myself in those moments, when I feel those thoughts that are kind of like crawling in and they're saying to
Mm-hmm.
me, you'll never be done with this, you'll never finish it, they're never gonna, like, it sounds minuscule, but if it's something where you've got like 100 plus
Mm-hmm.
very in-depth materials and you're trying to get everything squared away as one person, That's a lot to do. And
Yes.
so there's this feeling of lack of accomplishment.
Hmm.
And so I think when I feel that crawling in, I remind myself of what I have accomplished. I remind myself I am just one person. I remind myself
Hmm.
I'm here because I belong here. I'm qualified. I XYZ. And so, you know, it's in those moments that I'm able to kind of. I used this phrase the other day to my boyfriend actually, and it was something to do with, you know, don't look at the mountain, the peak that you're
Hmm.
needing to climb. Just look at the rock that's right in front of you,
Yeah.
and just try to get over that one rock first, and then the
Hmm.
next, and then the next. And so I think doing this type of thing, at least when it comes to something that is stressing me out, super helpful. So
Yeah. I had a feeling it was. And that does require conscious effort on your part to be able to
definitely.
recognize that it's going in that loop
Mm-hmm.
and that you can reprogram that loop by shifting the thoughts to being more, not just like positive, but probably more productive.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Just kind of let the other things be and let
Yep.
yourself dive into this one or two, few things here and just chip away at what you can. Yeah.
Because those are the things you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Versus getting caught up in the things that you can't or don't have any control over.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, girl, number
I will
three.
move on to number three.
Yes. What you got
This
for me?
this actually does not, for me, has anything to do with life coaching.
Okay.
This has more to do with, because I'll be honest, like coaching clients are very different from your loved ones.
Mm,
So the principles, though, still apply that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same for your loved ones. So, with that being said, my lesson from 2025 is you can't fix people because there's nothing to fix.
ooh,
So, yeah,
that's
that
so
was really
powerful.
powerful that I came across that this year. There's nothing to fix. So
Wow.
let them have their season of pain, of grief, of healing and overcoming. And that even means with your loved ones, which is so hard, so hard to be the person who maybe has the answers, has the solutions, has the resources, has the tools, can get you this, can get you that. And what I realized from all of that, and it can be all good intentions. I mean, like it is so beautiful to see how parents today are showing up for their kids unlike any other generation before. This conscious parenting of like, okay, um how do we navigate this? Because this is like new to me too, and this is uncharted territory. So like, I don't know what to do either, and like or I have an idea of what to do, but you're not quite receptive to it. So, and I am fresh out of other ways. So it was just so interesting to be like, yes, Virginia, because they're still human and they have to go through their human experience. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know I'm speaking more from a parent's perspective because this pertains more to like where I'm at in this stage of parenting, with teenagers especially. And I don't think it has anything to do with them being teenagers. I really, really don't. I know we've been told that, just wait until they're teenagers. I really don't think that's what it is. I do think it's more of the parent having a harder time with this era because you can't control your kids the way that you used to. I'm not saying control as a bad thing. That's kind of your job when they're a kid, is you gotta really like rope them in and be like, nope, can't do that, can't say that, can't do this, can't do that. That is when they're really little like that. Like, yes, that is your primary job, is to keep them alive. So those instincts are hardwired into us adult or us parents when we become parents. But when they become teenagers, that's a completely different era. You still have to show up for them. It's just not in the way when they were kids. And parents have a hard time evolving with their kids. There's a lot of parents that just want to remain with right where they are, where they've been, no making any changes. I think that will actually make for a far more challenging time as the kids are getting older because they start to question a lot of things, even question the way you parent. And so versus when they were, younger. Because even if they said something, pointed out something when you were younger, you can easily like be like, no, that's not it at all, and be able to like move on. And like, okay, I'm gonna take your word for it because you're mom and your dad, and like you're superheroes. And then when they get older, they're kind of like, not so sure about this, and and I'm gonna be 18 soon, and it's just kind of like, oh.
Love that.
Love that. It's so fun. And so when I, kind of, without going into too much detail, we definitely are going through those very trying times, during the teenage years. And again, I do so appreciate everybody who's been super involved in the kids' lives, and well-being has been a top priority. It's quite amazing actually to be a witness to and to be a part of it. But I am finding that there's a little too much of throwing everything at them instead of just letting them be.
Okay.
So I still think it stems from, and I can only speak for myself and my experience in all this, whether it's, your child, just using that as an example, but it could be your spouse, it could be, just somebody you deeply love and care for, and they're going through a very challenging time in their lives. I have so far learned a couple things. One is, if you really want to help them, lead by example. So that's one. You can't, you can, it's just not very effective to like tell people what they should do and you're not doing it. You're not living it. So kind of makes you like
a little hypocritical
and not a lot of respect. So leading by example, I think is one. I also think another too is and I shared this with you, Caitlin, about why life coaching to me is so amazing, is because we lead with curiosity, not judgment. So when we go into, fix mode, with our loved ones, sometimes we tend to be a little judgmental, than curious. Like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. And, let me show you like what you really should be doing. Or like, according to this imaginary non-existent timeline that I have for you, you should be falling right about here. And you're not. What's up with that? Because that's unrealistic. We're our own people, including your partner and your kids. They're their own person. So by wanting to fix, because that stems from a place of control, which is deep rooted in anxiety, is you're basically saying you don't trust this person to be able to do what they need to do and then come out on the other side. So, and I say that within reason. I'm not saying that, there could be definitely things going on that could be very harmful and destructive. And you do feel like that it is very critical to get them the kind of help that they need. That's a whole other extreme, and we can definitely talk about that. I'm just coming from a more place of like just within reason
Sure.
that your loved one is going through, a difficult season, and we just kind of, I guess it would kind of point back to Mel Robbins' the let them theory, but I have learned that I do have to let them, and that I will be here when they're ready,
Mhm.
to do whatever it is they feel like they need to do, in order to overcome this very tough obstacle. But yeah, I just realized I was like, man, I'm thinking about one of my most difficult seasons in life. And if everyone was just throwing everything at me and making me their project, I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it. I would probably appreciate people going out of their way to help me, but it would get to a point where I was like, what is so broken in me that you feel like you have to fix?
Yeah.
Because I'm not broken. I'm just going through something, and I'll figure it out. And if I need help, I'll let you know. And so I just think about, and in those terms, I'm like, huh, people are more capable than we think,
Definitely.
truly.
Definitely.
And that's a big part of why I got into life coaching. It wasn't to ever enable people, it was to help empower, because I deep down believe you're very capable of the kind of life that you want to have for yourself. You're very capable of making that happen. So why wouldn't I have the same mentality for my loved ones? So that's
I
what came out for me this year.
Yeah, I would think that would be very much of a struggle because you do have the skill set.
Hmm.
You're certified to do this. I often think about people who are therapists,
I'm
and
actually not certified.
oh, I thought you were.
Nope.
Ah, well,
I know. I am rogue. I am a
you are rogue and you're a tumbleweed, helping people left and right, lady.
like this is if you work with me, you're on a wild ride. No, it's but no, I did not get certified. I have my own reservations about that, and we can
Okay.
certainly talk about it in another episode,
Yeah, definitely.
which will probably be a good episode to have anyways. But no, not certified. But
The
continue.
thing, the thing though is, I mean, I can attest. Virginia's amazing. So whatever you might be dealing with, if you're listening and you've been considering life coaching, I cannot recommend her enough. I have sung her praises endlessly, and I would do it again. I just absolutely phenomenal.
Thank
You apply this amazing wisdom and empathy and just creativity on top of all these other things that you've learned. I mean, okay, certified, whatever, but you've done countless trainings and you've met with how many other life coaches and you've gone to all these workshops and everything. I mean, you are fantastic.
you.
Um, so let's just put that right there.
Let's put that
Um,
right there.
really, honestly.
Conversation over.
Obviously. No, but
Oh.
I think about therapists who are, they are in an office however many hours a day, and then they go home or they call a friend and their friend's dealing with, some problems, and it's like,
Mhm.
or their spouse or their kids or whatever, and and of course the same could apply, for you. And my question, I guess, is has it gotten easier to not want to, apply your resources and tools on your loved ones? Or is it just always kind of a challenge that you just have to kind of pause yourself and like go, oop, nope, hold on.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would say it depends on the person. It really depends on the person. If
Okay.
I get any sort of like inkling that this person wants to go there, the deep dives, all that, then yes. But if I get more that this person is just starting out, because I can turn people away, if they're not ready, and I just like dump on them like all these
Mm-hmm.
things. They're like, whoa, like, one thing at a time, and so even though my intentions can be good, it's like, let's freaking go, and it's like, whoa, like not ready for that. And so I do think it depends on the person. I also feel like it just goes back to what I was saying before, like go into it with curiosity than judgment.
Okay.
Ask
Okay.
better questions.
Yeah.
So even though it's not me like, okay, well you need to do this and you need to do that, and here's a blueprint on how you could, it was like, huh, you mentioned this, can you tell me more about that?
Okay.
Because if anything, what I've really gotten from my life coaching training without any, official certification is that I can either put you on a plane to your destination, I can have you skip the whole journey. Just get you right to that destination, which means I'm providing you with all the answers and all the solutions to your problems, or to give you a blueprint on how you should follow this exactly so you can create your dream life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or I can put you in the car and we can drive together to your destination and go through the journey of it. Not everybody wants to go on the journey, and I understand that. Do I feel deep down that the best you're gonna get out of that experience is going on the journey? Absolutely. If you don't want to do that and just skip right to the destination, I'm not going to be a good fit for you.
Sure.
And so I feel like with my loved ones, maybe at first I was probably like pushing that on them. And then I backed off. And I'm going to tell you, it is far more impactful when they come to me, and like, hey, I remember like you talking about this at one point. I'd like to talk to you more about it. You're like, oh, yes,
Let's
I
go.
I am here for that. I am
Yes.
here for that.
Yes.
But during that distance, whether it be emotional, physical, I'm still there for that person, just not in that way. Um, and then, they come to their own conclusions of like, and realizations of like, yeah, you mentioned something. I kind of want to talk more about that. Or, this is what got me thinking the last time we talked. And you're like, yes. It's
Oh
like,
my
Caitlin,
gosh.
what you and I were talking about, when that little crack gets made. That's
All of a
all,
sudden, that's all it
all,
takes. Just a
yep,
little bit, and
a
then it
little
slowly
bit.
starts to. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. But that
Oh
was a
my
great
gosh.
question. Thank you for asking that.
Oh, of course. Oh my goodness. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Ah. All right. Well, I'll get on to my number three over here.
Yes, please.
So my number three, honestly, it has kind of more to do with just the way that the world is right now. Social media, a bit in general, I guess. Not that I live and die by social media by any means, but we've talked a little bit about this in the past in at least one or two previous episodes. But it has to do a little bit with political climate. I'm not going to talk about politics, but my number three is most people, regardless of if their words are harsh and regardless of if you agree with them or not, most people are coming from a good place.
Hmm.
Um, and so I may not agree with trolling I'm seeing on the internet. I may not agree with someone's very wild reaction, or in my opinion, wild reaction, or defense, or someone who's on the offense. I may not agree with where they're coming from, but I think in today's climate, it's really smart to remind ourselves that most people, now not all, definitely not all, but most people are coming from a place where I believe that they believe that what they're saying is for the greater good. Now, that doesn't mean that their verbiage is correct or their tone is correct or that they should even say it at all. That doesn't mean that. That I'm not condoning any of that. But I do think, it takes less than 5 minutes on Instagram or Facebook to see people getting at each other about what this person did in the news and that and this, and it's like, I very much think that we are much more alike than we are different. I will always feel that way. I don't think anyone will ever be able to convince me otherwise. I think deep down we all have the same innate needs and wants, and we all hurt. Our feelings get hurt. We all find joy in life. We all need connection. We all these sorts of things that make life what it is. And so I think this year, and I can't think of any one particular incident, and I don't really want to get into any particular incidents just for the sake of not wanting to talk politics really, but I just think this year especially highlighted that for me, that one, it's great to just take a break from social media, but two,
Yes.
and this isn't just social media, guys, anybody listening, you're having a holiday dinner with your family and somebody says something and you don't agree with it and things get tense. Like, I know it's not easy, but I firmly believe that is the best time to pause.
Mm-hmm.
Tell yourself to pause. Just kind of think about it for a minute and think, okay, I can't control what that person said or did, but I can control how I react.
Right.
And I can control what I say if I choose to say anything at all. And I do think that it's moments like that where it's really hard. It's not easy, but I do think it's moments like that where we are called to try to apply some sort of empathy. Why does that person believe that?
Mm-hmm.
That might be a harsh belief, or that might be a belief that I would never have, or a view that I would just not have ever come to. But surely something led them to get to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the bigger lesson from all of that is that, take away the fact that we are all just human at the end of the day. I've seen so much hatred out there, and I don't know, I'm very fearful sometimes about just society in general, and I just think that, we really need to kind of get back to basics and realize that hopefully, ideally, we really are all trying our best.
Yeah.
We all have bad days. We all have bad moments, and we all say things that really are not okay at one point or another. But I just hope that we can all remember that.
Yeah.
Something I'm trying to remind myself.
So this almost sounds like this goes back to our emotional intelligence episode,
Mm-hmm.
is what really comes to my mind. Because like what we're seeing, a lot of these comments on social media and online is coming from an emotional dysregulated place.
Amen, sister friend. Amen.
So there's a reason there's such an emphasis on emotional and nervous system regulation, because the conversations are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be more constructive. They're going to be more productive. They're going to be actually about either coming to some kind of common ground or being able just to have respectful conversations of opposing views and opinions.
Yes. Yeah.
So, it's interesting because, again, Caitlin, like you were saying, everyone has a bad day, everyone has a bad moment, but it just goes to show how important, though, it is to have personal responsibility for your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So stay off of social media.
Yeah, it is. But even just in like the real world, if you're, at an event
And well,
or
okay,
something.
Caitlin, on that, and I've been a part of many family events. Nobody talks to each other the way they talk to online.
That is so true. That is so
Okay?
true. Mm-hmm.
So I know social media and online interactions seem like, oh my gosh, is this how people really talk to each other in day-to-day life? Not really. I'm not saying that you haven't heard that person, that irate person who uses, slur words, and is really hostile. But how often compared to what we see online and on social
Mm-hmm.
media? Like, I can go almost like an entire year without crossing paths with one person who's as hostile as they are online. So, and
Definitely.
I get out a lot. So, you know, I'm kind of like, it's interesting. So, because I feel like that is a space that's more of a cesspool
Mm-hmm.
to drown in all of that negativity
Well, and to hide behind a screen.
and to hide behind. So, when someone, I don't think your intentions are to really educate and make things for the better. I really
Mm-hmm.
don't. I think because we're all trying to fill a void and we're trying to be that social justice warrior and like, I matter. My opinions matter.
And if I don't
And you're,
post about this, then I'm wrong because I'm letting people down for not showing that I believe in this or whatever. And it's like, but no, people don't really care that much.
no,
I
I hate
really
to
don't
break it
think
to
that.
you. But yeah, I hate to break it to you, but you're not the main character. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no.
But it's just so interesting because when I see that, I can't help but to think like, oh, what wounds do you have? That
Hmm.
you're trying to find online, that validation, that like
Yeah.
you're so right. It's not to bring unity or to connect with your fellow, neighbor. It's not about that at all. It's about divide, it's about
Yes.
hate.
Yes.
And I give so much credit to people who actually want to utilize the space to educate and
Hmm.
to have healthy conversations and debates. Because that's not easy to have in this day and age because we are so emotionally dysregulated and emotionally charged all the time. So I give people a lot of credit who have to kind of put up with that. Because if it's not for them, then we wouldn't be able to have these conversations without the fear of like something might happen um, if I piss this person off. And that's a really dangerous territory to get into.
That
Um,
too.
Now I
Yeah.
can even have a different opinion. Like, yikes.
Hmm.
So,
I think
um,
I think what I mean is because I agree with everything you've said. I do think what I mean is those people who are more about the division and they are just so gung ho on almost just being online bullies or just being some sort of I'm not saying, oh, that's a wonderful thing and what great people they are. But what I'm saying
yeah,
is they're still people and something must have
right.
happened in their lives to lead them to this path where they are currently posting this comment and
Yeah.
telling everybody, if you don't believe with this, in this, then you're dead to me and this and that. And it's just like, oh, I don't know. We need to have compassion. We need to have ugh, there aren't enough words or enough time in our podcast for all the things that we need to apply in those situations because it's not an easy one size fits all solution here, but it's it's just a sad situation. I've just learned to try to have empathy whenever I can in those situations,
Yeah.
even if it's something that I think is wrong and hurts,
hmm
you know. So,
Yeah, I think people are just kind of done with compassion fatigue.
mm,
Um, so that's a real thing, especially in the mental health space. It's called compassion fatigue because you just get to a point where you're like, I'm kind of done with you spewing all
mm,
this negativity and hate. So yes, you're still a person. Yes, you're clearly struggling with some things. You are now letting it be everybody else's job to manage your emotion
sure,
and
sure.
regulate. Like, so that's where I'm kind of like coming from a more like I would love for people to have more personal accountability for
Hmm.
themselves. The minute you go on a platform like social media, like online, like even what we're doing, we're already putting ourselves out there, which is going to be a risk with people who may not agree with what we're saying and what we're doing. But we have to be open to, getting pushback if that
Hmm.
were to be the reality for us. So when someone, unless, like you said, Caitlin, like they could really be like, I believe in this wholeheartedly. And if I don't speak about this, I'm doing myself and whatever this is a disservice. And so they put it out there, but the minute they get pushback, the minute they get like opposing views and opinions, they can't hack it anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like for me, I'm kind of like, if you're going to do that, then you need to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally that you're not going to get people who are going to agree with you. And it doesn't mean they're less than. It doesn't mean they're
Sure,
stupid.
sure.
And it's like, we're not babies. We're adults. We're like wounded
Right.
kids in adult bodies the minute we do that. And
Yeah.
it shows. It's almost like you can't even unsee it. Um, and if someone were to like have a sidebar chat and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm okay." Like, how can you just be okay and be all calm when all this is going on? You're like, never mind. Like,
Hmm.
I wish you well. It's like, because you do get to a point, even as a compassionate person, where like you have to have, I think, these boundaries too.
Yeah,
That.
I maybe don't mean it as in depth. I just kind of mean I'm not gonna hate anybody.
Right, right.
Like
Yes, yes,
I'm
right.
not gonna play that game. I'm
Yes.
probably not gonna block anybody. I most likely, if need be, I'll unfriend, but even that I'm like, what what is this serving?
Yeah.
It's like I just might not engage, but I stand by that. I just really think we need to start treating each
That
other
human
like
decency.
we're people again.
hmm
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyways, number
Moving on.
moving
Number
on.
4.
You're
Well,
number
actually,
4.
this is great because this is exactly what I was talking about.
Oh,
Um,
perfect. Let's do it.
Emotional regulation, but actually feeling and processing them rather than
Mm,
analyzing and intellectualizing. Um,
okay.
so I recall like this time last year, I was definitely going through a very trying time and I was analyzing my emotions. So I was like reading all the books and listening to all the podcasts and all those things are great, but it didn't actually allow for me to feel what I needed to feel. So I realized that that can also actually cause more harm than good. Sure, I can identify the emotion and I can even intellectualize it, but if I don't actually feel it, it's still going to stay stuck
Mm,
in my body. And so fast forward to this year, like, back to the whole like we have ebbs and flows and we have seasons for everything. I feel not detached from my body. I feel very in tune with my body. So the things that are going on, I feel like I'm able to really feel it deep, deep down, and therefore go through whatever I feel like is the necessary process to release them. And so that was a lesson for me this year of how far I've come since like the previous times. And I think there was a little bit too of maybe, being fearful of those big emotions. And rather than feeling them, we can at least logically like break it down and analyze it. It's like, that's great, but there's still this disconnect. So it's mind, body, and spirit. So we can't just, can't just be one area where we are processing our emotion. It has to be the whole a connection. And that's, I feel like, where I'm at in this season of my life. And that lesson coming about from this year.
That's beautiful. I definitely think that is such an enlightened way of just approaching emotions and behavioral health. I commend you on that because I really don't think I know many people who can do that. I mean, it's one thing to study the emotion, it's another thing to let yourself really process it. And
Yeah.
if you can also find a way to do both and really lean into everything, that's amazing. That's some big emotional intelligence right there.
Oh, thank you. I had someone reach out and asked me, well, then how do you process these big emotions without
Mm,
drowning? I was like, well, why are you drowning in the first place?
okay, okay.
I was like, why can't it just be a ride with the waves?
Mm-hmm.
Why is our first initial is I'm drowning?
Yes, yes.
Instead of like, well, what if it's just going with the current?
And if you
You're just
are drowning,
like,
how did it get to that?
how did it
You
get to that?
know, and what can you do? What can we pull away from this situation so that you
Hmm.
are maybe feeling like you're more going through the current type of thing?
And are we drowning because we're resistant to the big, scary
Mm,
emotions?
okay,
And so we
okay.
make the fight a lot harder, and then we're exhausted because that requires a lot of energy to be able to fight it off. And then
Ooh,
before you know it, you're sinking.
yeah, honestly.
So that's where the whole like really feeling it without it letting it drown you, because that's
Yeah.
a big part of why we don't even want to feel it in the first place. We don't want to
Mm,
be consumed by it. We don't be overwhelmed by it. So a lot of
yeah.
us teach ourselves to just be like, then I'm just not going to even address it whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm just gonna
That
go
emotional
on
avoidance.
autopilot and not
Mhm.
really feel it at all. And then
Yep.
once it does hit me, I will very much be drowning. And then,
Yep.
yeah. Oh,
So it was just interesting to A, get that from a friend who reached out, and then their first like initial reaction to the big emotions they were feeling is that they were drowning. And so I
mm,
just wanted to challenge that a little bit because I remember that being my mentality, dealing with big emotions. I'm drowning. This is
yeah.
so consuming. And I was like, am I though, really? Or am I just
Mm.
resistant to surrendering?
Ooh, that's powerful though.
So the
Ooh.
surrendering part is a big, big, big part in processing your emotions.
Mm. Oh, I love this. I love this. All right. For the sake of time, I'm gonna move on to my number four.
Yes.
Totally different, kind of in a different direction here. And that is romantic love can be steady and calm. You won't be too much for the right person. So these are things that you hear, you maybe see them on, I don't know, some inspirational Instagram quote type thing, or you read about it in a book or some talk show. Somebody's like, hyping people up about finding their partner one day and this and that. But this year I found such a wonderful, wonderful person. And I've never really, it's almost like I had to live it in order to really learn the lesson. That's it's a cliche lesson. It probably sounds like a cliche because you do hear it all the time, like no, like, the calm love, like that's what you need to go for. Like you don't want to be hoping somebody picks you, or you don't want to be in something that's toxic or just a continuous dramatic cycle, which I've been in the past too much. And this is really the first time that I have been in something that just feels steady. And I mean that in that I feel there's just this abundance of trust. And I really I don't ever feel like I have to question it. And I don't want to, speak too soon or anything, but it's just a very, very beautiful feeling. And, I think about, again, like the difference a year makes. Last year, I just kind of dated a little here and there and felt like, what am I doing? And oh my gosh, like, and I did often think I am too much. I think as women, especially, we very much just see ourselves as like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. No one will ever want that, so I need to downplay myself. I need to be small. I need to be less this, less that, less, I need to be funnier, prettier, smarter. I need to do all these other things and make sure that I check off all the boxes that I don't feel in my brain I possibly could. And I just have found this person, and I just feel we very much complement each other. And it's just this moment where, he said to me the other day, "Why are you with me? I'm so weird." And I was like, "Hello." And I said, "I'm definitely weirder than you." I said, "Or at least I'm as weird as you." And it just, not that we're like a couple of complete wackos, but it's just we're goofy and quirky together, but we can be serious, and we can, have wonderful talks, and we can empathize with each other because we have different backgrounds, but it's in a way where we can both kind of understand very well where the other one might be coming from. We're good at kind of applying what we already know about the person and what we've been through. And I don't know, it's a beautiful feeling. I keep using the word steady, but it's something that I've never really felt before. Or if I did, it's never been like such a constant of a feeling. And it's such a beautiful gift. So, yeah. And I obviously, there's different forms of love. I have always felt a steady love from family members of mine, my mom, the guy that's like my dad who's in my life, aunts, grandparents, cousins, this and that, but it's very different because it's a romantic person who, I don't mean romantic, but a partner.
Yes.
When it's a partner, it's a totally different ball game.
It
And
is.
to be able to experience it and not just have me see it, but have my loved ones witness it, when they meet this person, and it's just a very effortless situation, and it's a beautiful thing. So.
It's so beautiful that you are experiencing that, and I still stand by that you are one of those very rare people, who maybe in some ways for you to even like learn and grow with yourself, and and have to go through those trials and tribulations of love. But I I don't know, I knew deep down, I was like, someone is going to just love the magical being that you are and is not going to question it, is not going to be inferior of it, is not going to make you feel less than. They're just going to be like, yes, that is my perfect missing puzzle piece that is full of weirdness and magic. And it's so cool to finally just experience that, because there was a part of you deep down that must have believed, even if it was buried under all the crap and the so-so, relationships or the so-so kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
There must have, though, been a part that was like, yeah, but I am deserving of that kind of love.
Yeah.
And if I have to be patient for it, if I have to keep working on myself, to experience it, but you knew that deep, deep down that you're like, maybe, just maybe, I haven't found the right person yet.
Mm-hmm.
Even though went through some very trying times trying to find it.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
that to me is so beautiful,
Thank
that
you.
there's just that part of you, even if it's just a small part, but that part is what came alive when you met your person.
Absolutely. It's funny too. I'll just say this real quick, and then we can get to your number five. But I was thinking this actually about a year ago. I remember I was in the car with my mom, and I think I was just kind of in a funk. Like, I was on the dating apps, or I don't know, I'd had a random one-off date, and I was like, okay, something like that. And I just remember my mom saying, again, this was last year around this time, and I remember her saying, I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that next year you're just going to meet this person, that they're going to come out of nowhere, and it's just going to like change everything.
Mm.
And she was just like, I can't explain it, but I just have this very strong, wonderful feeling that there's just this amazing person that's in store for you in 2025. And like, oh
Oh,
my God, so
yeah.
crazy. But, anybody listening who maybe this isn't you, maybe you are more like me in 2024 and some of 2023, I promise, I know it's cliche, but I promise there really is hope. Please don't be like me and stay in something longer than you should have because you think, well, I can make this work because I want to have all my ducks in a row and I want to get married and I want to have kids and I want to do this. Like, please don't do that. Like, it is worth holding out until you find the person that you are really feeling that effortless, steady calm with. So,
Oh.
just like Virginia and her hubby Andrew have.
Yes, very much so. I was gonna say, like, because just recently I met my sister's boyfriend.
Oh,
And this was a big deal for her because she's never really introduced a guy to the family before. And it brought me back to when I was in my 20s, that I didn't really like introduce a guy like to any of my family. I've mentioned in the vulnerability episode that was an area of my life that I actually like emotionally avoided for a very long time, for all sorts of things. I won't reiterate, but I knew though deep down, despite having a really hard time finding love or even finding a person to trust, to have a life with. Well, first of all, I was not into casual dating at all. Like if I was gonna be with you, it's because I'm with you, all of you, every aspect of life, all of that, and whatever that ends up being, I'm going in it for the long haul. So I already had that mentality about dating and relationships when I was younger, that I wasn't going to have a lot of boyfriends or a lot of experience in that. But I knew deep down that if I were to meet somebody, they would appreciate the parts of me that I had a hard time loving on. And they were going to make me feel like all the things that I thought made me different, made me weird, made me not attractive and not worthy, they were going to meet those parts of me with so much love, so much admiration, and be like, no, it's because of those parts of you that I want you.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt when I met my husband. Like, this was someone who, you know, I don't really have a lot of experience in dating and relationships. I raised my younger siblings for a very long time. That's really all my life has ever known, is Virginia takes care of others, and that Virginia is just kind of in this on her own. And I knew, like, deep down, and I mentioned that little part in you that's still there underneath all that stuff, that somebody was going to just come in and be like, and that's exactly why I love you. And exactly why I feel like you're the perfect person for me to build this life with. And that it requires, of course, work, even with your right person. It requires work and, you know, conscious decisions and conscious efforts. But yeah, it's pretty incredible when you have your person to be able to get through those things together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I will finish off with my number 5. And yeah, I think this actually came from our gratitude episode.
Okay.
I wrote down, depending on the season of life you are in, sometimes it's not always helpful to try to find the silver lining.
Okay.
Or see it from rose-colored glasses. That sometimes we need to feel it out, instead of suppressing or using toxic positivity.
Depending on the situation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that's absolutely, I mean, it's such wonderful advice that anyone listening, hopefully you can remind yourself. Definitely listen to the gratitude episode if you haven't already. We talk way more about that and just why it's so important. But honestly, girl, that's huge. I need to remind myself that as well.
It just made me like think of like, okay, so a close person to me started to really openly share more and more about something they went through a while ago. And if I were so quick to go, yeah, but at least, like, you know, this happened because I'm uncomfortable with the emotions. I'm basically telling that person, you are not worthy of going through this experience. And I would hate to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
All because I couldn't just allow the time and the space for this person to feel what they needed to feel. And I just remember going like, that must have fucking sucked and have been horrific for you to go through. And they're like, it was. And so there was no dwelling on it. There was no ruminating in it. It was just like, yeah, just calling it for what it was.
Yeah.
And then this person felt like they were able to be like, yeah, and then I look at my life and everything that I went through to get it all back. And I just went, oh,
Oh,
oh my gosh. And how they feel like they are living the happiest life they've ever lived.
oh, that's wonderful.
So it's just kind of like, you know, again, like it just doesn't always feel right to, even though the intentions are good,
Hmm.
to be like, yeah, but you got this going for you. So like, be grateful. Be grateful. I need you to be grateful.
I need you to smile right
I
now.
need you to
Don't
smile
smile.
right now. What we don't realize is what we're doing is we're actually making matters worse.
Yeah.
This goes back to the whole trust aspect of it, I think. I can't trust myself to have this conversation. And I can't trust you that you will have the abilities to process these big emotions.
Hmm.
That lack of trust makes us not vulnerable with one another.
Yeah.
We are just skating on the surface and slapping a positive label on it. So I much rather be able to be vulnerable with people and be able to express all those parts: the light, the love, the fun, the dark, the messy, the ugly. Because I do think that really helps a fellow struggling human being uh, to get back to themselves, a place of wholeness.
I love that.
And I don't know, if we do that, then maybe there wouldn't be this need to fix.
Hmm.
So,
If we just let people be where they
yeah,
are and show support how we can, but don't try to change them or mold them into something that they're not ready for, you know?
yeah,
That's beautiful. Oh,
thank you.
love it. I love it. All right. I will say my number 5 here real quick. This is our longest episode, I believe. But you
Going
know
on
what? As our last one for
oh, yes,
December, we might as well do a little longer because we're
going out with a bang.
exactly some bonus content, and we've had so much fun doing it. All right, 5 for me is true happiness is found in the simplicity and life's little moments. Um, Again, I
Yes.
know that's probably something you could read in a Chinese fortune cookie if you really tried hard enough to search for it, but I myself, I'm living in the town in which I grew up. I've lived kind of all over, but I'm back in my basically neighborhood. I'm one suburb over, but it's all the same thing basically. It's all really close. And I have found this year, um, it's just been a beautiful thing to get to do very simple everyday things with my mom and the man in our lives who's like my dad. Um, Having him come over just to watch a scary movie and eat pizza, like it makes me so happy to have father daughter time.
Oh,
Um, and it means so much more to me than like some extravagant, like I don't know. I mean, sure there's a time and place for like fancy things and doing something, lush and all that stuff, but I just have really been I don't know, I've really been relishing these moments of just little happy moments.
mm-hmm.
Grabbing dinner with my mom and just talking about something that if I were living elsewhere, I used to live about 3 hours south of here, I wouldn't be able to do this that often,
Yeah.
or being close by for, and just little birthdays or little mini celebrations, little things like, um, I don't know. Like my mom loves to go out and dance with her friends, and I have almost become like another daughter to some of them. And so I'll go out and I'll see them and, oh, it's so and so's birthday, and oh, Caitlin's here. And it's just, I mean, it's just these little happy, simple moments.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just sitting in solitude, lighting a candle. I know that these things sound very basic and very easy, but I'm telling you, actually, Virginia and I were just talking about walks before we started this
Mm-hmm.
episode. And I was telling her I'm such an advocate for going on a hot girl walk and hearing the birds chirp or listening to an audiobook or talking to a friend or whatever. It's just these very simple moments. There's something in them that brings me happiness. I don't know if they would bring everyone happiness, but I very much encourage you to challenge yourself if you're not one of those people, if you're always kind of out doing the coolest, latest, trendiest thing, to just kind of take a break from that, even if it's just for a day or two, and
Yeah.
just kind of like do boring things almost. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it might give your nervous system a little bit of a shock for a minute, but the memories especially that I'm making with my parents, these are moments that I won't get back. They're
Yeah.
moments that I will cherish forever. I would much rather have pizza and watch a movie or go to a high school football game or I don't know, go out to dinner or something with them than be doing something crazy on a rooftop bar, drinking an expensive cocktail with people I'll never see again. Like, and there's a time and place for that too. I'm not knocking that. I know we all go through seasons of life, but I'm telling you, there's something about the true happiness of just
Yes.
the little moments in life. And I really learned that this year, and I'm hoping to lean into that next year as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that well, ended it with that. Um, but that being one of your lessons from this year, because I do think going back to the whole like higher power, like universe thing, like it's almost like if you can't even enjoy the little moments, why would the universe think that you would enjoy these bigger moments? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so when we have we experience these little moments from a place of gratitude, that helps too with like getting that perspective shift and you genuinely enjoying this little moment and that you're so present for it and you show up fully for it.
Yes.
And then I do think all those little moments over time blossom into something quite on a grander scale.
Absolutely.
That you feel like you get to like thoroughly enjoy and deserve to experience.
You're so right, Virginia. It feels like definitely one thing leads to another good thing, one good thing to another, I guess I should say. But yeah, I mean, on a higher level, it may not feel it in the moment, like, oh, I'm just in the kitchen chopping up, celery with my mom, boring, but like we're laughing, having
Yep.
fun, we've got a song, we've got Spotify on, we're like these little happy moments lead to such a colorful, enriched, and fulfilling
Yes.
life. They
Yeah,
honestly do. So,
they really do. Oh, Caitlin, I want to thank you again for this being your idea and for a podcast episode. And to kind of just like, yeah, wrap up season one of Talking Blonde. Would this be ongoing season one? We might talk about
I
that.
don't know.
I don't know.
To be
Yeah,
determined.
to be determined.
We
And
will have to be.
let us know too if you
Yes.
have like any insights on that, because I have no idea. But I was
Uh-huh.
almost like, oh, maybe it would be a continuation of season one. I'm not sure. But y'all, you've been with us since the end of August. That is when we launched. And
Can't
here we
believe
are.
that. Honestly, can't believe that. Been a
Oh,
wild ride, and
it's
I'm
been
so
a
excited for
while.
more. Um, Virginia, thank you for agreeing to do this topic with me and getting all
Absolutely.
vulnerable and real and sharing these wonderful things that you've learned this year. I also, anyone listening, I would love to challenge you to do this yourself. Think
Yeah.
about this year, 2025. We still have some time. It's not over yet. Think
Nope.
about, to Virginia's point, we don't really want to just coast. I mean, sure, there's moments in life where that's all right, but don't let this year just pass you by. Think about what really matters to you, what really happened this year that impacted you. Maybe you want to go the route of what Virginia's done in previous years and, thinking about the highs and the lows. That's a wonderful opportunity also. Or if you want to do this and just list off the 5 things that you learned from 2025. If you want to share them with us, that would be amazing too.
And if
Um,
you need some help on like coming up with some like prompts, ask ChatGPT
yeah.
AI. I did that earlier and I just like, can you give me some journaling prompts on the top lessons that I learned from 2025? And it listed all these questions to help me get into that headspace. So AI can be a very helpful tool.
Love it. Love
So,
it. Oh,
but thanks
thank you.
everyone for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much, and we will see you in the new year. Ah!
See you next year.
See you next year. Bye,
Bye
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.